Hello, and thank you for joining me. I'm Elizabeth Burden, your host for AZ Illustrated Arts. Tonight, find out how some local photographers are inspiring conversation about the proposed Rosemont copper mine. Meet the author of a new book that documents Arizona's scenic contribution to the film and TV industry. Are you ready for alt classical? See how Chris Black and his ChamberLab project are experimenting with the future of classical music. And A Book I Love lets visitors to the Tucson Festival of Books offer some early recommendations for your summer reading list. But first, today's top stories.
The Arizona Senate debated its version of the budget today. Senate President Andy Biggs is the sponsor of this year's spending bills, and the Gilbert Republican quickly added money to the plan to be closer in line with the spending request put forward by Governor Jan Brewer earlier this year. Those increases put forward by Biggs did not satisfy Democrats who wanted more money for education. Democrats and Republicans in the state Senate also tried to add funding for the University of Arizona. Those proposals did not get the support of a majority of state senators. Social services, especially the Child Protective Services budget, were also a large topic of debate in the Senate. The budget approved by the Senate earmarks $20 million for the conversion of Child Protective Services to its own independent agency. The House Appropriations Committee will begin its budget debates on Monday afternoon. Republicans in that chamber are expected to pass a proposal nearly identical to the Senate's plan. House Democrats released their own budget proposal today in advance of the debate in that chamber. The commander at Fort Huachuca told the Sierra Vista Herald that proposed Army-wide budget cuts could result in the loss of nearly 3,000 jobs at the Sierra Vista Army post. Nearly half of those job losses would be civilian contractors. The Department of Defense is reducing the Army's staff levels military-wide as involvement in Afghanistan and Iraq wind down. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
The old Steinfeld warehouse in downtown Tucson is starting Conversations. A series of large-scale photomurals installed outside the building is aimed at engendering discussions about the people, animals, and industry surrounding the Santa Rita Mountains and the proposed Rosemont copper mine. Luis Carrion has the story.
There's jobs to be had there, and they're excellent jobs too, you know. Mining engineers, and we've got folks that can do welding.
You can always make that argument. You can always say we need copper, but you have to decide when the cost is too high.
It's a beautiful place. It speaks to the soul, it speaks to the body, and we also need to think about water.
My name is Josh Schachter, and I am an artist, photographer, an educator, and community organizer. And we're here on 6th Street in front of the Steinfeld warehouse.
Schachter is the coordinator of a photographic project titled Lens on the Land. The photographs were collected from professional photographers, biologists, community members, and depict, according to Schachter, the diverse use of the land near the proposed Rosemont mine.
As a result of the Lens on the Land exhibition, we decided to take some of those images and share them in a more public way. And so we got permission from the folks, the Tucson Pima Historical Commission, and from the folks that run the Steinfeld.
Schachter and volunteers from the area placed a selection of the images on the wall using a wheat paste process. A process he says involves simple ingredients such as flour, sugar, and water. The entire process requires large groups of people working together.
And so for me, this speaks to that democratic aspect of engaging people in issues through art, through not only observing the art, but through actually installing the work. And wheat pasting is such a affordable and powerful way to get the community to engage in it in a very interactive way and a physical way. It's high impact, and it creates a connection between the community and the issue that we're speaking about today.
Schachter says the issue here, although subtle in the choice of images, is the proposed Rosemont Mine project. Members of the Iron Horse Neighborhood Association near downtown recently stopped to see the mural.
My name is Mike White. I am the Vice President of Habitation Realty, right here across the street. And I'm also the President of Iron Horse Neighborhood Association.
White says the association recently held its meeting at Flex Gallery, where the Lens of the Land exhibit was on display. He says members dealt with the usual business of their monthly meeting, but they also could not help get involved in conversations about the exhibit and the proposed Rosemont Mine project.
There were some conversations I heard, about the new Rosemont copper mine. Tucson's been a mining town for a long time, and it seems like it's kind of a false promise sometimes. People say there's so many jobs that are going to be available because of this copper mining, but we look back at like ASARCO and BHP copper as well, and a lot of those mines seem to evaporate. I went to Marana, one of the real trade schools for welding and a lot of the mine applications, and the guys that I graduated with, boy, they didn't find those jobs for copper back in the day.
White says he's pro-business and he understands the argument for the mine.
Driving the trucks, which I've had a history of transportation as well, and infrastructure that'll come in. Also, the promise to build some more CAP capacity towards Green Valley to do the aquifer recharge. So there was a lot of that going around.
I'm Andy Mosier, and I'm a cartoonist and graphic artist. I've lived in Iron Horse neighborhood about 22 years, and I'm quite familiar with this whole downtown area.
Mosier says he and his family hiked through the area of the proposed mine 4 years ago, and he says the photographs do a good job of representing the area to those that may not have experienced it personally. He also says they are a good way to generate conversations.
A lot of people, when they hear there's going to be a mine south of town, they may be thinking that it's an area that looks, it's just desert flats and maybe a few creosote bushes or, just scrublands, but it's much more than that. And when you see the photographs, you're much more aware of what would be lost.
My name is Maria Kadasha. I'm a retired midwife, and I live in the Iron Horse neighborhood, and I know Flux Gallery because we have our monthly meetings there, and I know Dante, who runs it.
Kadasha says she appreciates the images for the sheer beauty, and she's also struck by the many uses of the land. Although she's seen these images before in the gallery, this is her first time seeing them in the wheat paste mural format.
I think it's fabulous because they're big, they're easy to see, and the choice is very good.
Which one of these is your favorite?
The one right behind me. And the Jaguar.
Kadasha went back to see the exhibit when it was up at the gallery and noticed many people engaged in conversations about the mine and the landscape. She says the photos are successful in generating a dialogue.
And it was very interesting. The number of people came in, quite a few. And I only wish that there'd been more people who were for the mine, because it was almost like preaching to the choir. Almost everybody who came already had their mind fairly well made up.
Schachter says the topic is divisive, but he hopes the images from Lens on the Land are ultimately able to generate conversations.
This exhibition really, it isn't about creating division, it's about creating dialogue. And not for me to dictate how people should think about it, but maybe just to encourage them to think about it from different perspectives.
Climate has always been one of Arizona's most marketable commodities, and clear skies with lots of sun are appealing to the film industry. Our state's iconic landscapes have served as the backdrop for a number of surprising movies and TV shows. It's a history that my guest, Lili DeBarbieri, explores in her new book, Location Filming in Arizona, The Screen Legacy of the Grand Canyon State. Lili, thanks for joining me.
Hi.
What inspired you to write this book?
Well, definitely Arizona and its history and natural beauty is always an inspiration, but what initially inspired the project was my research for my first book. I was writing a book about the area's historic ranches and farms, and I was always kind of stumbling upon these stories about Hollywood stars staying overnight at these ranches and farms during shooting of various things, as well as the properties themselves used in different films. And being kind of a film history movie buff, I wanted to know more about that.
Who is this book for, do you think?
I think it's for a general audience, people interested in movie history, film buffs, everybody likes movies. I think it's for tourists and travelers as well. There's certainly a wealth of things to see in Phoenix and Tucson if you're interested in kind of movie-related tourism. I think it's for people who like history in a general sense, and anyone kind of interested in reading a good story.
So what's the story then? In its heyday, what made Arizona a good place to shoot a film?
Well, what initially attracted a lot of filmmakers to the state and looking at making their movies here was the natural beauty and scenery. Clear skies year-round, no threat of snowstorms most of the time, as well as a variety of landscapes. And even though that was what initially inspired filmmakers as early as 1910, 1911, 1912, even before Arizona became a state, that's what's still kind of bringing people here.
Southern Arizonans know about Old Tucson Studios. What are some of the other studios around the state, however, that have been locations? And what are some of the films that are connected with them?
Well, that's what's kind of funny. I think a lot of people have heard of Old Tucson Studios, certainly in this state, although I think people coming from other states kind of think Old Tucson is a historic neighborhood and don't even realize that it was a movie set. So that's very educational, but a lot of movie studios have kind of come and gone. There's Apache Land Movie Ranch up in Phoenix, which unfortunately burned down. However, 2 of the buildings were moved to the Superstition Mountain Museum now. So if you're interested in going there for a day and kind of getting caught up in that area's movie history, definitely check out Apache Land. Prescott has a variety of different buildings that were used in films, as well as at Sedona.
What do you think are some of the challenges and opportunities for Arizona as a location as the film industry changes in the 21st century?
Well, I think one of the challenges, obviously, is the incentive. I mean, it's on kind of the news. It's something a lot of people are talking about, and the lack thereof, although Tucson has kind of bravely gone there and is offering its own incentive now. From my research and from what other people have told me who are experts in the field, there's an argument on both sides in terms of giving an incentive to filmmakers. I think that from my perspective and from what I've kind of gathered, that it's a wonderful opportunity for students to work on projects, certainly at the U of A and also at Arizona State. So that, I think, is going to be the main challenge in the future.
Well, you did a lot of research on locations and the hundreds of films and TV shows that were shot in Arizona. What's your favorite film story based on your research?
I have a lot of them. I love to hear the stories from locals who've been in films from a long time ago. It's just incredible to meet people who have been personal security for Ava Gardner, or who have had relatives help Janet Leigh with different things while she was shooting films here. So that makes it very memorable, and it doesn't matter how interesting the story is, it's just hearing about these people that I get a big kick out of. My personal favorite story was being on the set of Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink. I got to visit the set twice, once at Mescal and once up near White Stallion Ranch. And just being on a movie set and seeing everything that went on was so exciting.
How so?
Interesting. It's truly magic when the camera starts to film. There's something about it. Everybody is quiet. You're listening to the dialogue. You're standing with writers who have written that scene. It's just amazing. The special effects are pretty amazing too. I was sitting on a rock in the desert, and they were filming a shootout scene above me, and I'm hearing everything go off, and it felt like they were shooting at me, and I know that obviously isn't what's going on, but that was just pretty. It was very exciting. It also made me thankful that I'm doing the easy job of writing about it.
Last 30 seconds. what do you think is the biggest legacy of film in Arizona?
The Western is certainly very important, but I think what the legacy is not only the sheer amount of time, but also the diversity of films that have been shot here, just things you don't really even think about. I mean, from Westerns to comedy, to silent films, to sci-fi flicks, you know, favorites like Can't Buy Me Love, Martin Scorsese has filmed here. I'm really glad I got to kind of delve into this topic in more depth through the book. I think that that's the legacy.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks.
I'm Gwen Eichel on the next News Hour. The U.S. responds to the crisis in Ukraine. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
For generations, Haiti escaped cholera. Now the current epidemic has killed thousands.
The thing that you need to control a cholera outbreak is a decent sanitation system, and Haiti didn't have one before, and they still don't have one now.
I'm David Green. Why an end to Haiti's cholera epidemic seems so far away on the next Morning Edition from NPR News.
According to founder Chris Black, the mission of ChamberLab is to break down the barriers that often surround classical music. Each year, Black brings together an ensemble of performers and asks artists not normally associated with classical music to be composers. We'll see the results of ChamberLab's most recent concert next in this story from Luis Carrion.
The audiences really love it. We have audiences that normally go to classical concerts and don't normally go to clubs, and they have a lot of fun. And then we have the people that are out every night seeing live music anyway. They're going to be there. They're going to be hanging out, checking out bands. And now, boom, we've got a bassoon trio right in front of them, or we've got a brass ensemble. And they love it too because they're music lovers. And where they might not go out to see something at a concert hall, they'll certainly love it if you just drop it right down in front of their faces, you know, in the neighborhood, so to speak. My name is Chris Black, and I'm a composer and a performer living here in Tucson, Arizona. And I started and I'm running the ChamberLab concert music series. ChamberLab is a concert series of, I guess, what we could call alt-classical. It's concert music, chamber music, that comes from composers like myself that aren't really a part of the classical world. And we're writing music for classical musicians who are a part of the classical world because they're really good. And then we're putting the shows on in venues that are not at all part of the classical world, such as the Rialto or the Club Congress and that sort of thing. We're bringing concert music into places more normally associated with rock or punk or country or jazz or cumbia. I absolutely seek out people from different backgrounds, especially with the composers. I'm looking for people that are like me from maybe a rock background or just sort of a DIY club background where we would normally play at Plush or at Congress or at something like that. I'm looking for those people that love concert music and can actually put notes on paper to write some, rather than being from sort of the established classical world, because there's just this huge barrier between classical world and all the other music in the world, whether it's rock or pop or anything. Classical is just behind this wall for some reason, and I don't think anybody likes that. Nobody likes that the wall's there, but it's there. So by grabbing a bunch of people from this side of the wall and hooking them up with all these other people from this side of the wall, everyone has a tremendous amount of fun, and it just brings a lot of strange new music into the world that way. I got our tuba player and our trombone player, who also plays sousaphone, and I put them together and I had them play notes that were like that close together, so it was pretty dissonant. And then I got the other two trombone players and had them play notes that were that close together, so everything was very murky, and I had hoped very thick and strange and more of a physical impression than an actual tune that you would go home and hum. And then also, the exciting part was we had all this orchestral percussion back there. We had the big bass drum, we had the vibraphones and timpani and all that, and I said, well, I'm gonna write a bass drum solo to put in the middle of here. Right about the middle, I just had this kind of this rhythm part in the trombones and tubas going brrrr, brrrr, and they just repeated that. And then the bass drum player just cut loose. Boom, boom, and made big sounds. Also had a timpani solo in there where he was changing the pitch of the timpani as he was rolling it with the foot pedals. So it would go, and I just really had fun making sound with that one. There wasn't really anything that you were going to go home and go, remember that? There was no real melody that stood out. I just wanted to make this thick batch of sound. And it worked out. It worked out really well. I decided I wanted to find a new place to live. I went out on the road by myself and toured, and every time I came through Tucson, I had an amazing time and I met incredible people. And the reason that I stayed here is because it really feels like Austin felt in about 1988. It's laid back, it's super cheap to live, and there's just talent everywhere. There's all kinds of artists, not only musicians, but painters and writers and chefs and dancers, and we're all sort of in the neighborhood. Everything's really close together, particularly downtown. It's just an amazing place to be where you can put together projects like this just by walking up the street for a little bit and saying, hey, do you want to do a thing? Hey, what about you? You want to do a thing? Hey, do you want to paint for this? Do you want to cook some food? You're a chef. And just get things together. It's very easy.
ChamberLab's next project will be to provide live accompaniment to Buster Keaton's silent film, The General, at the Fox Tucson Theater on April 19th. What book has moved, thrilled, or motivated you the most? That is the question Mark McLemore asked visitors at last weekend's Tucson Festival of Books, and the answers he received were as diverse as our community. Here now is A Book I Love, starting with Matt, a 30-year Tucson resident who describes himself as a true lover of books.
A book I love is Catch-22. I feel, although it is about World War II, it is also a great commentary about who we are as a people and as a country, and it's done with a sense of humor. It is truly belly laugh funny, but with a lot of truth. We always think about who has written the great American novel. For me, that is the great American novel.
Hi, my name's Maya. I'm 13 and I go to Orange Grove Middle School. One book I love is The False Prince. I really like this book because my sister recommended it to me, and there's so many plot twists and turns that makes you so interested in what's happening, and I thought I knew how the end would happen, but there was such a surprise ending that I almost cried because it was so good, like a happy ending, but such a good ending, and it was fantastic. I would recommend this book for anybody who loves to read. The third one recently came out, and I'm in the middle of reading that.
Hi, my name's Yvonne. I'm German. I live in the United States, and I have 3 daughters, and all of us are big avid readers, and we just love reading. My all-time favorite book is The Power of One by Bryce Courtney. It's absolutely fascinating. It plays in South Africa in the 30s. There's a lot of racism, apartheid is going on. And what I like about the book is that on one hand it shows you all the the racism that was going on at the time, but it shows you how you can overcome it if you change your attitude and if you really think outside the mainstream approach, and that you can find friendship across all different groups, and that's just very motivating.
My name is Holden Bittner, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. My favorite book is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. It's an incredibly sad book, but it's beautiful. The entire book is like reading a dream.
Hi, I'm Christian Greenleaf, and I love to read. A book I love is called A Dog's Journey because it lets the reader see what a dog is going through, what a dog thinks of everything that humans do. And it's funny, it's sad at parts, but I loved it. It kind of took me on an emotional roller coaster.
My name is Ibe Abanyam, an author of a book titled Fear, A Healthy Emotion, If Well Managed. One of my favorite books is called Ignorance, How It Drives Science. He talked about how ignorance is what drives scientists to go to the lab to find out information that they don't know. What I learned from the book Ignorance is that we don't necessarily have to know something before we go into it. As long as we have the passion and desire, we can discover ourselves in the process.
Hi, I'm D.R. Ransdell, and I actually work here on campus in the writing program, and I've got a couple of books out, Mariachi Murder and Tie Twist. A book I love, really love, is Justine by Lawrence Durrell. It actually came out in the 50s, and it was part of the Alexandria Quartet, which was 4 books. The reason I love Justine is that in it we have a narrator named Darley, and he's in love with Justine, but of course he can't have her because he's not sexy enough and all that. But he writes about her and he loves her and he pines after her. But then when you get to the second book, Balthasar, you find out that everything Darley thought he knew was wrong. He was completely wrong, and he hadn't understood anything, and neither had I the first time I read the book.
My name is Sean Kinney. I'm an attorney in the Tucson metropolitan area, and I've been reading since I was about 9 or 10 years old, and absolutely love reading. I probably read on average between 50 and 100 books a year. The one book that I try and read at least once every 5 or 10 years is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. It captures all of life. It's got everything there from love and grace and disgrace and redemption. And I find it something that I am drawn to and keep reading time and time again. And I'll probably end up reading it about 5 or 6 more times before I pass. Even though the book was written around 1880 by Victor Hugo, it's timeless. The themes in that book never go out of style, and especially the redemptive power of Jean Valjean. And there's just something I can identify with that character, and I see a different part of myself when I read that book, and about humanity and what it's like to be a member of humanity. And it's just a wonderful book that I recommend highly for anyone who wants to read an old classic.
You can hear more Books I Love tomorrow on NPR 89.1 when Arizona Spotlight airs at 8:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. And you will also find more Books I Love online at news.azpm.org. You can visit us online at news.azpm.org to post a comment on any of our stories or to keep up with the latest news. I'm Elizabeth Burden. Thank you for watching AZ Illustrated Arts.